Story time of my parents finding my diary. I'm 22 and I grew up with really strict parents. In the ninth grade, I had a diary where I would just write about my day, including my boy crushes. And then one day I couldn't find my diary. I figured I just misplaced it somewhere, like it's fine, I'll find it. And then a few days later, my dad calls me out and he's literally standing there holding my diary. So he actually decided to read through it and he read an entry where I talked about how I walked by my boy crush and we said hi to each other. Let's just say he beat the shit out of me that day. He literally thought that because I said hi to my crush that I was sleeping with him. Anyways, they threatened to send me to boarding school. They grounded me for a month. Thank God they didn't actually send me away. But yeah, I got in trouble, was grounded for a month. Continued going to school, but let's just say I no longer write in a diary anymore. Guys, this story hit so deep for me because literally when I was 8 years old, I had this Barbie laptop, which it wasn't an actual laptop. You could just play games on it. And one was write a love letter. So in my little Barbie laptop, I would write love letters to this character on Animal Crossing. He was a squirrel. His name was Agent S. I just had the biggest crush on him. I was like, I want to get married. I want to have your kid. Anyway, so this Barbie laptop generated a love letter. So I copied that love letter down. I just wrote it on a piece of paper for some reason. My dad found that piece of paper, and when I explained to him that it was about a squirrel and whatever, blah, 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 I got in so much trouble. And that piece of paper was never thrown away. I think it got behind the couch or whatever. And then one day, a few years later, when I was 12 years old, my dad found it again. The same paper from before, and he got mad again. And I was like, I already got in trouble for this, but I got in trouble again because it reminded him of how mad he was and he was so annoyed seeing it. So I got in trouble for something I did 4 years ago. Anyways, hearing that story was so relatable. I was like, hers was probably much worse because it was actually a real person. So I'm sorry for you, girl. And let me know down in the comments if you've experienced something similar to this before. And if you have a crazy story that you want to share, send it to me on Instagram.
Story time about how I was friends with probably the biggest pathological liar of all time. Story is about a girl, let's say her name was Kiana. And I tell you guys, this girl was the biggest liar I have ever known in my life. So Kiana had a boyfriend, a guy friend, whose name was Josh. And she introduced me to Josh online. She gave me his iCloud to message, not his phone number, but his iCloud. Josh would message me every day, and me and Josh also became very, very close friends. So Kiana was a friend that I really, really cared about. We just really connected on a lot of levels. She was really close to this Josh guy, and him and I also developed that same connection where we were so close. We would talk literally every single day. It was honestly the first guy friend I ever had in my life. And she would always tell me and my friend that she did not like Josh at all. Eventually, because I was talking to him every day, I kind of liked him. He was probably the first boy that I thought I really liked. He would always tell me things like I was so beautiful, and no one really ever made me feel that way before. I was so young, and also I didn't look good as a kid. But also keep in mind that I was literally 12, so my parents weren't going to allow me to go out and see a guy or anything. So Kiana kept pressuring me because she had a feeling that I liked him. She kept pressuring me, asking me if I liked him. I told her I did like him, and she turned around and she said to me that he was hers, and she actually did like him and she wanted to be with him and stuff. That was completely fine. I probably cared about Kiana more than I cared about Josh. She was my best friend. Josh would still flirt with me and call me beautiful. He'd even say some dirty stuff. So around that time, Kiana told us that her and Josh have. So I'll just tell you guys a couple facts about Josh. Lived in the nicest house on her street. Supposedly had 8 bedrooms. It was pretty wealthy, obviously. He went to our school's brother school, but in a year level above. Maybe 5 or 6 months into mine and Kiana's friendship, her and Josh start dating. She is at his house every day, or he's at her house every day, and she's skipping school nearly every day to go to Chatston Shopping Centre with him. So after they started officially dating, he stopped flirting with me. Actually became a bit rude to me. He just always put me down. Anyways, then a couple months months later, they broke up and he became flirty to me again. When they broke up, she started dating this guy named Adrian from her dance school. And he followed me on Instagram because her and I were really close. Still remember exactly, but Adrian had 14 followers and he was super hot, like really hot. This was like literally the night before the last day of school in year 7. Josh got really drunk and he messaged me out of nowhere. We hadn't really spoken in maybe months. Started flirting with me out of nowhere and he was being pretty dirty with it as well. Flirting with me so much and telling me I'm the most beautiful girl in the world and I was more beautiful than Kiana. And I was just kind of getting a bit freaked out. Then he started asking me about Kiana and Adrian. Just asking about them a lot. So his questions slowly transitioned from asking about Kiana and Adrian to asking about me and Adrian and also me and him. He was asking me which one out of the two of them I would rather give a blowy to, like him or Adrian. I literally told him I feel extremely uncomfortable. Can we stop talking about this now? And then he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. And then completely stopped flirting with me. Then he started talking about how he really missed Kiana and he didn't mean anything that he was saying when he was flirting with me. I'm not really his type and all of that, but he was mainly saying that he really missed Kiana and he wanted her back. And while he is messaging me, Kiana is at a dance class with Adrian. My makeup is completely out of order, but I just remember this line. I have to put it in here. Her and Josh got back together. Anna hadn't got her period for a few weeks after she was meant to get it, and she was convinced that she was pregnant with Josh's baby. And me being an amazing friend I am, I literally went and bought a pregnancy test. Yeah, I've forced her to take a pregnancy test.
Get ready with me while I talk about my first boyfriend. We weren't technically dating, but like we were, and you'll see what I mean. He's literally the reason for all of my trust issues, so let's rewind back to 14-year-old me when I was a freshman. At this time, don't make fun of me, but I was a volleyball and basketball manager, and usually practices were like an hour after school. So there would be like an hour for me to kind of just mess around, and I didn't really have anything to do. And there was this boy who would also stay after school every single day. So like we became friends because we were both after school. We both always stayed after school together. And then we also stayed with this other girl who, that's like, I miss her so much. We're gonna call the guy that I'm talking about Mur because I need, oh my god, we're gonna call him Mur. I need something to call him. We're gonna call him Mur. So Mur and me, we got to talking and we obviously both liked each other. We ended up talking every single day and like we would text, we would FaceTime after school, everything. But poor little me had no idea what was coming because this guy was so freaking evil. He was very controlling of little freaking 14-year-old me. And I would never even be doing anything bad. Like before him, I didn't even ever think about guys. So like, obviously, but he would always say, oh, I can't trust you. And little me, I'm like, no, like you could trust me. Now I'm like, okay, you don't trust me then. Like, I don't understand. But he was like basically trying to manipulate me. So he would always tell me that like, no, we can't date because I don't trust you. Like I need to trust you before I ever date you. And like we were talking for months. Everybody thought that we were dating because we would always be like walking around school together. Everybody just was like, we were dating. And came around Valentine's Day. We weren't dating. He didn't ask me to be his Valentine. I didn't care. I was young. Like I had never even spent Valentine's Day with anybody. So I was like, I don't care. I didn't think he was getting me anything. And like I came into school on Valentine's Day like it was normal. It was a normal day. He was ignoring me the whole day and I didn't do anything. So I was like, what the heck? Like, but he'd pulled stuff like this so many times before, like the not talking to me game so many times. So like, whatever. And come like 7th period, he was looking at me like the whole entire time. And I was like, what? Like, what are you looking at me for? And he was like, I just can't believe you're that freaking rude and that freaking disrespectful. And I'm like, what are you on about? And he's like, have you been to your locker today? And I'm like, yeah, I've been to my locker today. And he's like, great, okay. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, okay, you're not going to say anything about what I got for you. And I'm like, first of all, he didn't get me any of this stuff. It was obviously his mother. So don't go thinking, oh, whatever. Like, we were 14. So obviously his mom bought it for me. But anyways, like, he didn't get me anything. So I was confused. And then he's like, your locker number is this, right? And I'm like, he put it in the wrong locker. And he was mad at me because I didn't find it because it wasn't in my locker. But I can only imagine how confused the person who it was their locker. I can only imagine how confused they were. But anyways, okay, so he had ripped up the stuff that he got for me. Like, when I got it, it was ripped up. Like, he had gone to that locker and ripped it up. And mind you, all day, whenever I would go up to him, he would, like, shove me away. Like, he would physically, like, shove me away. And I'm like, what the? And I remember one time he was super mad at me, and it was because I gave a guy a Starburst. And this was a guy that I've known since, like, kindergarten. And he asked me for a Starburst, and I was like, sure, yeah, here. Like, I just don't, like, I don't care like that. If anybody would have asked me for a Starburst, I would have been like, yeah, here you go. And he was specifically mad because I gave the guy a red one. He was like, you gave him a good flavor too. Like, what is it? I was genuinely so gagged, like, at the whole situation, and I remember telling so many people about it, and, like, he would always get mad. I remember one time another guy, like, had asked me for some of the cereal that I had, and I had a whole bag of cereal. I was like, sure, yeah, here, have some. Like, I don't care. And then he found out about that and got mad. And when he would get mad, he would not talk to me for the whole day. He would not text me for the whole day. He would let me, like, freak out and, like, whatever. He would let me follow him around school with me not saying anything. But then, obviously, you know, because I'm me and nothing has changed. We had stopped talking, but I, like, went back and I texted him and I was like, I miss you. Because I just never changed, you know, and I've always been that person. And he was like, oh my gosh, I missed you so much. And I wish that I could go back in our text messages, but it was back when I had an Android, so, like, I don't have his, like, anything anymore. But oh my gosh, he would get mad at me over everything. It was the craziest thing. And, like, when I think back on it, I'm like, yeah, like, that's why men stress me out so much, because the first guy that I ever talked to, like, when you're young like that, it's supposed to be so innocent and, like, you know what I mean? But for a majority of my freshman year, I was sitting there stressing out over a guy because he didn't trust me. I was low-key so ugly back then, so I'm not even gonna say that I could have done better, because, like, girl. I'm kidding. Everybody can do better and nobody should be treated badly, but I'm just mean to myself. Yeah, but he was really toxic. Like, I'm forgetting so much stuff. Well, not even forgetting, but, like, just, I don't have time to talk about every single thing. It just always hurt my feelings so much when he told me that he couldn't trust me, because I would literally, like, text him, call him all day long, and then, like, whenever I would, like, get a notification or something, he would lose his mind and be like, I know it's a guy, like, whatever. I'm like, I literally have never talked to another guy, like, in my life, let alone right now. It's so bewildering because, like, I literally never even considered talking to a guy, and then the first guy that I talked to treated me like that. Like, oh. Anyways, I hope y'all like that story time. I didn't have anything else to talk about, so I thought I would talk about that. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys later.
These are all the insane rules that my strict Asian parents had for me growing up, and why I will never in a million years ever have these for my kids. By the way, I grew up in an extremely toxic household, so by no means is any of this normal or okay. The one thing that I will thank my parents for is teaching me exactly how not to raise my kids. Not only did they turn me into the sneakiest motherfucker ever, literally get away with murder anyway, but there was so many deep-rooted self-worth issues that took years of therapy to reverse. So number one, I had to go to school no matter what, no matter if I was throwing up sick or what, no matter if a family member just died. School was just non-negotiable. You don't know how many times I have gotten on the bus with bloody noses, like about to throw up. My bus driver is literally like, who sent their kid like this? Obviously, if I'm being sent to school with a fucking fever, then that's also a danger to other kids and just fucking wrong. I remember laughing at the concept of a mental health day because I didn't even get like a fucking physical health day. One thing about me is I was raised with complete fear. I was just so scared of getting like screamed at or like, you get what I mean? I was never allowed to have friends over the house ever under any circumstance. Like if I even asked, I would probably get screamed at for like 40 minutes. At a certain point, I just stopped asking. On the flip side of that, it was also really hard for me to get rides anywhere. My parents did not want to drive me to anyone's house ever. They were too busy doing their own thing pretty much. So I feel like I grew up pretty lonely. Now that caused me when I got older to sneak a lot of people into the house. Not even just boys or anything like that. Like even just my girlfriends, I would just sneak into the house and not tell them because I was so scared of getting screamed at. And I feel like that still affects how I like communicate now. I tend to over-explain the living shit out of myself. Like if I'm 5 minutes late to something, I will literally be telling my friend like, oh my god, I'm so sorry that I'm 5 minutes late. This happened and this went wrong and I'm just so sorry and like blah blah blah. And they were like, girl, it's literally not that big of a deal. One thing my parents made extremely clear to us that they were not my friends. After my very first breakup, like, I was heartbroken. I was, I think, a sophomore in high school. I tried to go to my mom and like cry to her, and I literally got screamed at with tears rolling down my eyes about how stupid and dumb I am for crying over a boy and to leave her the fuck alone because she's busy. I remembered watching all the Disney Channel shows and movies about how when like Alex Russo went to her mom about a breakup or something, her mom was so nice and understanding and she was like, it's okay, mija. I really thought that it was gonna be like that and then just got extremely disappointed. I was like, how did I go from my mom for advice about a breakup and leave feeling worse about myself? Literally so pathetic, but like the trauma adds spice, so it's fine. But I've just never had that relationship with my mom where I could like tell her everything and like confide in her and be all cute and hang out with her. I've always been so damn jealous of people that are best friends with their moms, and I honestly tend to get close to like my boyfriend's mom and my friends' moms because I don't have that. So when I was younger, Instagram was like the big thing, right? There was no TikTok, there was no Musical.ly. It was literally just Instagram and Snapchat. My dad blocked Instagram on the router. Gosh, my nose contour looks like a fucking, I don't even know. And as y'all know, I wasn't allowed to have people over. And most of the time, I couldn't get rides anywhere. So I spent a lot of time alone. So Instagram was like the one thing that I could use to communicate with my friends. So at 13 years old, I researched and found out how to install a VPN on my phone and got Instagram back. This is one I've seen a lot on TikTok about, and I didn't really know it was universal experience, but gifts would cancel out bad treatment. Essentially, my parents could say and do the worst possible things to us, completely traumatize us, but it was canceled out if they took us on a nice vacation or bought us something we wanted. Me and my dad are really close now, and he has like deeply and sincerely apologized for everything he put me through as a little kid. Basically just explained he wasn't ready to have kids and like give up his life and whatever. But my mother, on the other hand, if any three of us kids talks about our traumatizing childhood, the effect it had on us, she will still be like, shut up, you had an amazing childhood, you went on vacations and we bought you stuff. Did she not realize that she scarred all of us for like life and we all had to go in like months of therapy to like be somewhat normal functioning member of society? So like I said, social media was like blocked for the most part except for YouTube. And since I was alone so much, I really did get my childhood through watching Bertaley. So shout out Jules LeBlanc, I love you, you saved my life. It's just so funny how something that I wasn't supposed to be allowed to have is now my full-time job. Like I fully believe that them taking away social media and like restricting me so much as a kid led to me pursuing social media as a full-time job. I never really even wanted to have kids, but part of me really wants to, just so I can raise them with like the most utter love and care and give them every single thing that I didn't get growing up. Like, I want to be the house that all the kids come over to. There's little slumber parties, and there's hangout sessions at my house, and I'm the cool mom. And I want to have that mother-daughter relationship where my daughter can tell me literally everything, and she's like my best friend. And lastly, if you're in a toxic household right now, just please keep holding on. Promise it will be over. You will get out of it. And I'm sorry, you have a damn good personality because trauma really does build character. You're probably so funny. You're probably so sweet. I love you so much. And I am a real-life example in front of you guys that you can get out of it. Oh my gosh, that was like so deep. I love you, Hobnoggers, and I'll see you next video. Ew, was that too deep? Oh.
Hey guys, I have a very scary story to tell you about my mum and I when we were in London about 2 months ago. Okay, so we're staying in a really nice hotel. It's 5 stars, beautiful. Anyway, this one night we got home at like 12 a.m. and we got ready for bed, fell asleep, and then I got woken up by mum like nudging me and like whispering something to me, but I was asleep with like a sleep mask on, and I must have thought that it was morning because the lights were all on in the room, so I thought it was just daylight. So I took it off and I'm like looking at her and I'm like, what? Like, what do you want? And she's like, Maddie, someone's in our room. And I'm like looking at her, I don't know, I'm still whispering. I'm like looking at her and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I swear to God, I just saw someone walk into our bathroom. And I was like, what? And I look at the time and it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, what are you talking about? And we're both silent for like 5 seconds, and then we hear something in the bathroom. And so we jump out of bed and run to the front door. And we're standing by the front door, like we haven't closed the door yet because we don't have a key, and like we've just left everything inside, and it's like quite a big room as well, and the bathroom is right next to the bed, but the lights in the bathroom were off, but we were hearing noises. Anyway, I'm like looking at mum and like our hearts are like racing, and then we couldn't hear anything. Mum was like, maybe I'm hallucinating, or maybe like I dreamt it. And I'm just like, in my head I'm thinking, if this bitch has woke me up 3 a.m. because she's literally dreaming, I'm literally gonna kill her. Anyway, we're still by the door, we're silent. Mum goes around the corner to like look where the bed and bathroom is. She can't see anything, but then she hears like a noise, and so she runs back out, and we're doing the exact same thing. We're standing there, like we have no idea what's going on, but we keep hearing these sounds from the bathroom. So then after a little while, it's my turn to look, and I walk around the corner and I run back. I see something and I run back to Mum and I go, Mum, there's a man in our bed. And she goes, are you effing serious? And I said, yep, there is a man in our bed. Like, he's in our bed, tucked in on your side. And Mum's like, I'm gonna hold the door, you like run down to reception and get security. So I do. My pajamas are inside out, like I don't have any shoes on, my hair's like a mess, and I run down to reception. So I get to reception and I like tell them what's happened. I'm like, a man has come into our room and he's hopped in our bed, and they're like literally so frazzled and confused. Anyway, they come upstairs with me, they come in the door. Mum and I are like waiting out by the door, so we can't actually see what's happening, but we can hear everything that's happening. And we hear the security guards being like, sir, like trying to wake him up. So he was obviously asleep. Like, sir, like you're in the wrong room. Like, are you staying in this? Oh my God, I'm running out of time. I'm sorry, go to part 2.